Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala states in the glorious Quran that indeed the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, there shall never come upon them fear or grief. And they are those believers who have adopted faith and who have done righteous actions. In this verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala beautifully and very concisely explains that the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those individuals who simply, first and foremost, bring iman. They have iman in their lives. Without iman, a person's good deeds, his good actions, his noble actions, his righteous actions will have no value. So he was either born in an Islamic household or he accepted Islam afterwards. So he has been gifted with iman. And alongside with iman, وَكَانُوا يَتَّقُونَ, he has a quality of taqwa. This is a very key quality that each and every single believer needs to have in his life. If a person has these two characteristics, iman and taqwa, this person is a wali of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is a friend of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more he excels in these characteristics, the more his wilaya, the more his friendship excels with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if he has a high level of taqwa, then his friendship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also be of a high level. And if he has a very low level of taqwa, then his friendship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will also be of a low level. So taqwa has many stages. Stage number 1, to abstain from disbelief, to abstain from hypocrisy. This is the first stage of taqwa. The second stage of taqwa is to abstain from the kaba'ir, the major disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third stage is to abstain from bid'at and innovations. The fourth stage is to abstain from sagha'ir, the minor disobediences of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The fifth stage is to abstain from mushtabi', doubtful things, things which are uncertain. The sixth stage is to abstain from those mubah, those permissible things which could lead a person towards the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the seventh stage is the highest stage, which the Anbiya alayhi wassalatu wassalam possessed, which was to entertain only those thoughts which consist of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love and his greatness, and to shun every other thought, dismiss every other thought from a person's mind and every other motive. So these are the 7 different stages of taqwa. The higher a person is in his stage, in his journey of trying to acquire Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love, the higher his wilaya will be, the higher his friendship will be, and the higher his love and connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be, thus translating into a higher station in the hereafter. Among taqwa comes this point that a person, he needs to have both the inner qualities and the outer qualities. These are inseparable and they come hand in hand. So Tazkiyah is no independent branch of the Sharia, rather it's incorporated inside of the Sharia. And it's a part of every single command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just as a person's skin color is incorporated into his skin. It cannot be that a person removes the skin color from his skin and separates the two and says, here's a skin color and here's my skin. The skin color is incorporated inside the skin. It's a part of the skin. It's a part of a human being. It cannot be separated. Yes, people may differ in terms of the color of their skins, but the skin itself, or the skin color itself, is a part of a human being's natural phenomenon. It's a part of his system. So in the same manner, Tazkiyah, once a person treads this path, this is a part of his deen. This is absorbed inside of his deen. It's absorbed in every single command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ikhlas, sincerity, is necessary for every single command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Otherwise, that command will have no value in the court of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Without sincerity, or without correct sincerity, without correct intention, a person's salah will be insufficient. If a person performs his salah for practice purposes, for anyone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or to show off, then in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this salah has no value. This fast has no value. This zakah has no value. This hajj has no value. And all of his good deeds have no value which are done for anyone else apart from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise, there are so many actions which are related to the heart. And these are good deeds. The action of having patience. This is a combination of doing good deeds, abstaining from bad deeds, and enduring hardships in the face of, enduring or exercising patience when enduring hardships. This is done with the heart. If a person's parents pass away, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant everyone the ability to value their parents. May Allah give everyone's parents long lives with iman, with good and righteous deeds. But if a person's parents leave this world, if they depart from this world, the tongue is not the one which is exercising patience. The ears are not the one which are exercising patience. The eyes are not the only organs which are weeping. It's the heart inside which is weeping. It's the heart inside which has to exercise patience. Now this heart controls everything. The heart controls the tongue, the heart controls the eyes, the heart controls the ears. So a part of taqwa is that a person's inner self and his outer self, they align with the wishes and commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There are some people who say that it's the inner self which matters, and the outer self has no importance or relevance whatsoever. So the Khalifa and the spiritual disciple and student of Hakim al-Ummat Hazamana Ashavari Tanwi Rahimahullah Ta'ala gives a beautiful answer. He says, take the example of a pigeon. The pigeon has an outer part and it has an inner part. The outer part consists of the pigeon's wings, and the inner part consists of the pigeon's organs, the meat, the bones. If someone was to clip a wing, only one single wing of a pigeon, and say that it's the inner part which matters and not the outer part, what will happen to this pigeon? This pigeon will be exposed to not potential harm, definite harm. It won't be able to protect itself from predatory animals. And those pigeons which have two functioning wings, these pigeons, perhaps someone might be caught off guard, and a predatory animal may be able to capture one of these pigeons, but the chances of these pigeons being captured are very low compared to those pigeons which have either no wings or only one wing or defective wing. Because one pigeon is able to protect itself and the other pigeon is unable to protect itself. So in the same manner, the Shaykh says, Hazrat Maulana Abrar al-Haq Sahib, Hardawi, Rahimahullah wa ta'ala, if a person uses this rhetoric, it is only the heart that counts. It's only the good intention which counts. It's only the inner part which counts, and the external part, the outer part, has absolutely no importance, no relevance whatsoever. Then he will be exposed to the definite harms of shaitan and his nafs. It will be very easy for shaitan to mislead him. Now, I'm not saying that shaitan is unable to mislead those who have beards, those who have jubbas, those who have topis, those who are performing their 5 times salawat inside the masjid. Shaitan also misleads them. But the nature of their deviation differs to the nature of the deviation from those individuals who lack the outer part. So the inner part is also important, and the outer part is also important. If the outer part lacks, if the outer part is deficient, then it becomes very easy for shaitan to mislead that individual. On a side note, my respected teacher and sheikh, once he mentioned, those Muslim males who have full shada'i beards, women don't even look at them. Generally speaking, women don't even look at them. So the fitna and the temptation to look back is very less. A person who has a beard, he feels ashamed. How can I look at inappropriate things? And a person who has no shadi beard, he feels that I can look, do, observe what I want, how I want. Psychologically, this beard protects him. In the same manner, this cap protects him. In the same manner, his clothing protects him. So the outer part is extremely important, and likewise, the inner part is also important. Hazrat Maulana Omar al-Haqsab, rahimahullah ta'ala, mentions. Hate the sin and do not hate the sinful. This is a saying of our Akabir ulama. Hate the sin, hate the illness, and do not hate the one who is ill. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, when he propagated deen to the people of Taif, they pelted him with stones to the point where eventually his feet started to bleed. At that point in time, Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam was sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And he gave this message to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam that if you desire, we can destroy this nation and crush these people. What did Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam say? He said, "Oh Allah, Allahumma hdihim fa innahum la ya'lamun." Oh Allah, guide these people because they do not know. Perhaps their progeny, perhaps their latter generations may accept Islam. So again, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he was not overcome by his nafs. He was not overcome by personal revenge. That these people harmed me, let me pray against them. So if Jibreel alayhi salatu wasallam is coming with the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam confirms that command, is there any chance for that nation to save itself? Absolutely no chance. But despite that, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he taught us a very beautiful principle. Through his actions, hate the sin and don't hate the sinful. But this does not mean that we should give way to the sin. Sheikh Junaid Baghdadi rahimahullah was once traveling with his disciples on the Tigris River, or near the Tigris River. And there was a boat of young men who were intoxicated in alcohol. They were playing musical instruments, and when their gaze fell upon the sheikh, they started to say inappropriate words about the sheikh. So the sheikh's students, the sheikh's disciples, they said to the sheikh, pray against these young men. Look at them. They're intoxicated in alcohol. They're playing musical instruments. They are openly transgressing against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they are targeting a friend of Allah. Pray against them so that these people are finished. The sheikh raised his hands, and to their surprise, the sheikh said that, "Oh Allah, just as you have granted these young men luxuries, happiness in this world, also grant them luxuries and happiness in the hereafter." Subhanallah. Subhanallah. Again, who can do this? Who can do this, friends? Only that person can do this whose heart is purified, whose heart has been connected to the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fully. And he doesn't function according to his nafs. He doesn't function according to his own whims and fancies. He functions in accordance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's will. Again, hate the sick, hate the sin, and do not hate the one who is sick. So hate the sickness and do not hate the one who is sick. Hate the illness and not the one who is ill. The Shaykh of my respected Shaykh, Haji Farooq Sab, rahimahullah ta'ala, beautifully once he mentions that those individuals who are indulged in the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they need to be treated with mercy and compassion. Just as a patient who presents himself before a doctor, the doctor will never ever scold his patient and say to him, why have you become sick? He will always give him love. He'll give him attention. In the same manner, those who are fully disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the disobedience should be hated. The disobedience should be disgusted, detested, disliked. But the individual himself should be shown mercy and compassion, because this is the balance which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires from us. So again, taqwa means beautifying not only the inner self, but beautifying the outer self. Ta'amirul zahir wal batin. Beautifying the inner self and the outer self. Otherwise, we see a superficial deen. If the outer self is beautified and the inner self is empty, we see a superficial deen. We see talks, we see functions, we see conferences, we see salawat, we see hajj, we see apparent worships, but we don't see that inner characteristic which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires from us. Allama Iqbal, rahimahullah, that he beautifully says in the Urdu language, मस्जिद तो बना दी शब्बद में ईमान की हरारत वालों ने, मस्जिद तो बना दी शब्बद में ईमान की हरारत वालों ने, मन अपना पुराना पापी रहा बरसों में नमाजी बन न सका. The masajid have been constructed, the madaras have been constructed, the marakis have been constructed, our 6-foot bodies have been constructed with apparent signs of devotion, but has the heart been constructed? So every day we perform salah, but is our heart performing salah? Which means, is our heart actually submitted and humiliated before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Or is this just a cycle that we have attached ourselves to, and once that cycle finishes, we start the next cycle. Once the second cycle finishes, we start the third cycle. So is religion a cycle of formalities? Or is there life inside our heart? So that life will come when a person's heart has been made effort on, when a person's heart has been purified. So Hakim al-Ummat, Hazrat Maulana Shah Hakim Akhtar Sahab, rahimahullah ta'ala, I'll finish with his saying, and then I'll discuss his saying inshallah in detail next week. He mentions that these 5 points are necessary for a person's islah and for a person's self-formation. He was the spiritual student of Shah Abdul Ghani Phulpuri, rahimahullah ta'ala, who was a spiritual student of Hakim al-Ummat Hazrat Maulana Ashwari Thanwi, rahimahullah ta'ala. So Hazrat Maulana Shah Hakim Akhtar Sahab, rahimahullah ta'ala, says, first and foremost, ittiba'u sunnah is necessary. Following Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's teachings in totality. Number 1. Number 2, abstaining from the disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number 3, abstaining from environments, situations, persons who assist a person in the disobedience of Allah. So number 1 was ittiba'u sunnah, following the sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Number 2, abstaining from sins. So this doesn't mean that a person, he should put himself in a situation where now he should fight and resist the temptation. He should safeguard himself from those environments, people, and situations which will lead him towards sinning. Number 3, the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And number 4, صحبة أهل الله صحبة صالح ترى صالح كند صحبة طالح ترى طالح كند. The company of the good and the pious will make you pious, and the company of the wicked and the evil will make you wicked and evil. So these 5 points are extremely necessary and they are key for a person's islah, for a person's self-reformation. And inshallah, I will explain or expound more on these 5 points next week. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to understand and practice. Wa akhiru da'wana an alhamdulillah bil alamin sadaqallahu al-azim. After the talks, we have a short dhikr session. If anyone is associated with a sheikh, he should follow his instructions and guidance. If someone does not have a sheikh or a prescribed dhikr, then the general advice given by our ulama and mashayikh is that a person should recite istighfar 100 times. Astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. These are just general guidances, general advices. Number 2, salat and salam 100 times. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which is the smallest formula. The largest formula is Durood Ibrahimi, which is recited in salah. So if that's too long, then sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or a combination of both. Number 3, the first part of the kalima, la ilaha illallah, or the first part of the third kalima, subhanallahi walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. The thought process should be, Allah is looking at me with love. This should be done silently, unless one shaykh has allowed him to make audible dhikr. May Allah enable us to understand and practice. Wa akhiru da'wana.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر